The SEC schedule released yesterday in the midst of everything. Here are some of the notable matchups. Week 1, new Mississippi State head coach Mike Leach goes to Baton Rouge, take on the defending national champs in LSU, who are returning just 8 starters, fewest in the conference. Then, a matchup that could decide the SEC East. Florida takes on Georgia in Jacksonville. Gators looking to snap a 3-game losing streak in that series. And finally, some things never change in the SEC, and they probably shouldn't. Auburn, Alabama, the Iron Bowl, November 28th, right where it always is. Auburn looking for its first win in Tuscaloosa since 2010. Nick Saban was live with me earlier this morning talking about the possibility of teams playing in the spring. Here were his thoughts.
You know, if you're a junior or senior and you have an NFL grade, are you going to play in the spring? Or is that going to become sort of a JV season with a lot of these juniors and seniors opting out and not playing their senior year, which, you know, is sort of something that they'll probably miss for a long time. So I'm in no way judging what anybody's trying to do or not do, but, you know, our medical experts here thought that we could try to do this, create a safe environment, and see if we can play. And I think that's what we're doing, and I think they've done a wonderful job of that.
All right, I've got a whole squad here to talk about this. Booger and McElroy and Heather Dinich and Paul Finebaum. And you should know that was in response. That answer was in response to my asking a question about the significance of the Big Ten and Pac-12 deciding not to play. And he took it to, among other things, to spring football. Heather, sometimes I don't even think of that. Like I think a lot of us look at it as though those conferences canceled, because I don't think we take the notion of a spring season very seriously. How seriously, to your knowledge, are they taking it? How real is the possibility that we will see football at a different time of year in the Big Ten this season?
Well, it has to be real, Greeny, because that's what they told their parents and student athletes and coaches they were going to do. But that's where part of the frustration from parents stems from, because they didn't have a plan. They said, we're going to postpone to the spring, but nobody said that's what that would look like. Penn State Athletic Director Sandy Barber said on her call yesterday she thinks it's viable, and she hopes within the next week or so they can begin to release what their concepts might look like. But again, nobody knows, and one of the reasons they didn't want to go to the spring to begin with across the SEC, Big 12, and ACC was because there's no guarantee that the virus is going to be any better than it is right now, and also because of what Nick Saban was talking about. Certainly, absolutely, there are going to be players who aren't going to play. We've seen players opt out now who have NFL potential. Absolutely.
So, Booger, let me come to you. You were a first-round draft pick, and everyone knew you were going to be a first-round draft pick. If the season that you were to be a senior, they moved the games to the spring, what would you have done?
Well, Greeny, I wouldn't have played. You know, I thought about coming out my junior year. So you're right. I knew I was going to be a draft pick, didn't know how high I was going to be. But, Greeny, what incentive do you have to play in the spring? If you're a guy that's projected to be first, second, third, even a fourth-round pick, why would you play? Because if you don't have guaranteed assurance that the NFL is going to move their calendar as far as the draft, the combine, the workouts, what incentive do you have to play, quote-unquote, college football for free? I think that's going to be the perspective that a lot of people take. And I think when you listen to Nick Saban talk, he talked about what is it going to be a JV season, because the players, the Trevor Lawrences, the Justin Fields, the guys that you are going to count on to win a lot of college football games, those guys come to college, Greeny, with one thing in mind. It's to get to the NFL. We can talk about the student athlete role all we want, but those guys have their sights on the NFL, and everything that they do is preparing them for that. So how does a spring season in the same year that we're getting ready to do pro football, how does that help them? I don't think it does. So therefore, I think a lot of guys, not just the early round picks, not just the first and second round guys, but I think the guys that will be drafted in the first 4, maybe even 5 rounds have zero incentive to play college football in the spring.
I agree. I keep forgetting they're even really considering doing it. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.